I was real irritated. And you know what? I'm going to crack one right now. Cracking a beer because I need to kind of chill while I'm also going to get a little elevated and hyped up here. Because, Jake, I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of everybody putting all of the faults of this team on Jed Hoyer and Tom Ricketts. I understand they didn't spend in the past. They made a decision to go out there and to sell these guys at the deadline last year. The returns they've got, say what you want. I love those guys that were traded just as much as any Cubs fan out there. I will never say a bad thing about any of those players. I am as grateful as any Cubs fan for what they did here with the Cubs. That said, this team needed to get shaken up. It needed to get shaken up. They were not winning another World Series with the core the way it was constructed. Just wasn't happening. We didn't win since 2016. There were winning seasons. They got to the playoffs and they stalled out. And you could talk about lack of spending in the years that when they were in that competitive window. Yes, that's all. It's all true. They didn't push up enough against that luxury tax or go past it like some other teams are willing to do, like the Dodgers, big market teams. It's all about maximizing your costs for when the team is most competitive to hit that window and be as highly as competitive as possible. I think he's honestly looked at what's happened over the years when this team was in its competitive window. They didn't have the resources to spend as much. You want to put that on Ricketts, fine. But he's learned from the mistakes of the big contracts now early on. They don't mean shit. It's what you do when you're ready to actually compete.
Right.
And that's why he's not giving a time frame right now, Jake, in my opinion.
What Jed is doing right now, first of all, we can't see everything. I think what fans miss is that Theo was very candid in his interviews. He was very honest with fans. Jed's a little bit more closed up. And there's a competitive advantage to that. People should take note. Like, there's a reason why he's not playing his hand. And there may be a point in his tenure where he's able to say truthfully, like, yeah, I wasn't honest. This is why. Here's where we are now. But he can't do that right now. He can't put all of his cards on the table. To say that he created holes in the roster and he didn't inherit those holes is kind of ludicrous on its face. What should have happened when Theo was president, as soon as stuff wasn't really clicking again in 17, it shouldn't have been blamed on a hangover. Instead of saying, like, what did he say? Like, was the end of 17 when they had the reckoning? Instead of that shit, instead of pulling that, trade whoever's value was high that you knew you weren't going to sign to an extension, and then put all your resources toward extending whichever guys you retain and don't trade before their walk year, which is what we just experienced last season.
Yep.
What that does is it brings fresh talent into a system that desperately needed it at the time. It's all a long-winded way of saying that we can't evaluate Jed yet. We simply cannot.
Yes, exactly.
And it's worth noting that the industry consensus, supposedly after the deadline last year, was that Jed did very, very well in those trades. And like I said in the video today, we're seeing those returns at the lower levels so far.